everyone. Thanks for joining today's Launch Plus class. We have our special guest, Wesley Croft, productivity coach on the West Side, and he's been an agent for about 8 years. All right, he's going to be talking about lead generation. Thanks, Wesley. Take it away.
Yep, no problem. So, for a lot of you, I see who's on the call, and none of this is going to be super new, but some of it might be. So, what I wanted to do at the very beginning and at the very least was to start to talk through um, the whole 80-20 principle, right? So, I think this is important only because I think sometimes we lose sight of this as agents. And so here's what I wanted to write down, right? Like you all know the 80-20 principle. So you've got your actions and results. And so 20% of your actions are going to lead to 80% of your results. The problem is most of the time realtors want to live right here in the 20% or in the 80%. Now, what's the problem with that? And what does that 80% look like? So what we do is we try to craft the perfect Facebook post. We try to deal, with contract to close issues, right? We tend to stay in, I'm going to put out a bunch of fires today mode instead of actually doing what it takes to propel our business. So again, not going to be something that you guys haven't heard before. And then we'll get into the meat of what we need to talk about. But the 20% where we as real estate agents should live is in 5 things. And this is a bold thing, right? But you guys have all heard it, right? Lead gen is the first, and that's nothing else matters if you don't do this every single day. One of the things that I tell my new coaching clients is if someone asks you what you do for a living and you say, I sell houses, or you say, I help people buy and sell houses, or I'm in real estate or whatever, that's the wrong answer. And why is that the wrong answer? Well, it's the wrong answer because if you don't lead generate, you're not going to be able to help a single person. If you are a secret agent, meaning nobody knows you're in real estate and you don't talk to people about it, guess what? You're not going to sell any houses. So the first thing that you need to make sure that you do every single day is lead generate. It's that important. And so when someone asks you what business you're in, you should really look at them and say, I'm in the lead generation business. Because if you think about it and you go, let's say you're watching TV and you see all these commercials, right? That's lead generation for those businesses. Target would not be where they are if they didn't do something to market themselves, right? The other analogy I always give is, let's say you were going to start a restaurant. You spent all this time creating a menu, hiring a chef, renovating a space, or building a building to do it, and yet you told no one that you were starting a restaurant. How many people do you think would show up the first day that you arrived and that you opened? No one, right? Nobody's going to show up. So we've always got to be in the lead generation business. So lead generate is the first thing. If you get enough leads that you've generated, you need to make sure that you have a really solid follow-up plan for those leads. Once you followed up with enough leads, you're going to go on some appointments. That's great. That's great. If you go on enough appointments, you're going to get homes in the contract, either on the buying side or the listing side. So you need to learn how to negotiate contracts. So negotiate contracts. And then the last thing is script, so that you'll know what to say in all of these areas. And then education. So continually trying to find ways to get better at all of those things. But the reality is the lead generation is what is the most important. So what are some of the most common methods to lead generate? You've got prospecting. So that's, calling FSBOs, calling expireds, circle prospecting, doing a geographic farm, open houses, sphere of influence, past clients. You could buy leads, right? Zillow, realtor.com, those sorts of things. You can advertise. You can advertise on social media. You can do newsletters, postcards, like all those sorts of things. None of that is going to matter without what I'm about to tell you. So I'm going to give you, if you're writing stuff down, we'll call it the 2 M's of lead generation. So the 2 M's of lead generation. So the first M is the message. Okay, the message. Here's the thing about the message. The message must match the market. It must match the market. And it must match the motivation of the people that you're targeting. So I'll give you an example. If you're calling, or let's say you're putting out a social media advertisement, the message for a downsizing baby boomer is going to be vastly different than the message from that you're trying to get a first-time home buying millennial to buy with you. Those are vastly different messages. So the thing that you need to be asking yourself as you go through your lead generation efforts is 2 things. 1, why would they want to contact you in this market? Why would they want to contact you in this market? And then the second question you should ask yourself is, what would they get if they did? What would they get if they did? So why would they want to contact you in this market? And what would they get if they did? The smartest lead generators on the planet understand that people respond to messages that matter to them now. Not that will matter to them in 6 months or a year, but that matter to them right now. A lot of realtors get twisted when they're trying to give out a message is they think that personal branding is going to get them to where they want to go. So, for example, Chris Burns is on this. If you don't know who Chris Burns is, he works out. He's a big dude. He's very intimidating. He's a teddy bear when you know him. He's got tattoos up and down his arms. And so his message that he wants to get across is that he is a Harley loving, Harley riding.
Oh. Sorry, Wesley, we lost you.
Connection was bad.
Right. Well, he was saying all those nice things about me. We lost him. What the heck?
And now we're done. I'm not.
And we're back.
I'm not saying anything good about you anymore. Anyway, so to him, that's his personal brand. But what he also knows is that that's not going to get him to where he wants to be. He's also has to have a message that will be of direct benefit to the people that he's trying to reach. So that's very, very, very important, right? Very important. And then here's the real key to this whole idea of a message. Excuse me. People will connect with you when your message connects to their why. I'll say that again. People will connect with you when your message connects to their why. So that's a big thing that I think a lot of people, not just realtors, but a lot of marketers miss is we feel like we should be focused on ourselves as the hero of this story when that's not true. Like if you read Donald Miller's Building a Story Brand, what he would say is as realtors, when we're branding ourselves and we're trying to market ourselves, stop thinking that you are the hero of the story. How many of you have seen realtors or marketers on social media that try to make themselves the hero of the story? Like we're this white knight riding in to save someone. That's not what we should be doing. What we should be doing is crafting a message to where the buyer or the seller, they're the hero of their own story. They have a problem and we are the guide to help them through that. So if you've not read Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller, please, please, please read that. And it will give you a lot of insight as to what I'm talking about right now. So if you can connect with their why, right, and whatever that is, then they'll start to respond to you. So if I guess we're on a social media kick at the moment. So if you're trying to put out content on social media, or even if you're trying to make phone calls to prospective buyers or sellers, what is their why? What's their problem? And how can you help them solve it? That's what's going to help them to understand that you are the guide and that you're the realtor of choice for them. So once you've got the message right, then you've got to make some sort of an offer to get a response. So it's not just good enough to, again, social media, let's just say, put out a bunch of content. What you have to do is you also have to actually make an ask of them at some point. Now, I know a lot of people will say, oh no, like I post on social media all the time and I get a bunch of leads from that. What's most effective is using social media as a platform, both to market yourself, but to also ask them for the business. And that could be through direct message, that could be through a phone call, however you want to do it. But you've got to know and you've got to understand that when you know the message, you must get an offer to get a response. If you're not asking a question, you're probably not going to get a response. Does that make sense? So I wanted to say all of that. So 2 M's, I said the message. The second M of lead generation is the method. So you've got prospecting and you've got marketing. You've got both of those things. So prospecting is you go get the leads, right? You're seeking. So examples of prospecting obviously would be circle prospecting, calling for sell by owners, calling expireds, those sorts of things. And then there's marketing. So in marketing, you want people to contact you. So it's more of an attracting model. So we've got seeking, we've got attracting. Prospecting is great. It's quicker and it offers you immediate feedback. So think about calling a FSBO, right? You're either going to get a yes or you're going to get a no. And that's a very quick phone call. All of us that are on this call right now, we could all pick a FSBO right now and come back to the call in 5 minutes. And it's either a yes or a no based on how the conversation goes as to whether or not they want to entertain an appointment with us. Marketing is more of a long game, but it gets you in touch with more people at the time. So it's sort of casting a wider net. Now, the question to ask yourself, a lot of people say, well, should I prospect or should I market? And I say, well, the question is not whether you should do either or. The question is really, which method are you going to do first? Are you going to prospect or are you going to market? And so the answer to that question is, what's the method that's going to generate me the most amount of leads in the shortest amount of time for the least amount of money? Right? Because I know realtors, I've been a realtor long enough to know, and I've talked to enough realtors to know we're all cheapskates, right? Like we don't want to spend a lot of money, but we want a whole bunch of leads for our time invested. And we'd rather do it for free. And I'll raise my hand first to say, like, I'm one of those realtors. I would rather spend time and not money necessarily, but then there's a balance there, right? So that's the 2 M's of lead generation. You've got to have a message. You've got to understand who the client is that you're going after and understand what message will most resonate with their big why. And then you've got to have a method for how you're going to do it. So prospecting is always a great start because it's mostly free, right? I can go to Zillow and find phone numbers and names of people that are raising their hand to sell their property. We have access to expired lists from our office, so we can also get those. So you can call those folks. And then once you're comfortable, you can sort of move into the marketing, but you should always strive to have a blend of both. Always try to have a blend of both. So I wanted to say all that, but here's the real meat of what I wanted to talk about today. I took a class a few years ago. I don't know if anybody else would have been here long enough. I know Jade was here back then. I know Bob was here back then. But we took a class. This was before COVID. Jason Abrams taught it, called Triple Your Business and Love Your Life. Anybody remember that? Was I the only one that was there? Here's what he said. And I'll try to keep it as brief as I can. One of the things that he said was, he said, it's amazing that real estate has been around as a business since the late 1800s. But yet, if you walked into any real estate office, including ours, Pepper Pike, or here, and you started to ask agents what they do to lead generate, after a while, you're probably going to start to get a lot of the same responses. It's going to be, I call for sale by owners, I call expireds. I do social media. I do open houses a lot. You're gonna keep, and then there's only about 10 or 12 of them. I buy leads, right, is another one. You're gonna keep getting sort of the same answer. If you pulled 100 realtors, you're probably gonna get around 12 to 15 responses. And here's the thing that struck him, and it struck me also. We feel obligated to lead generate because you've got people like me and people in leadership that tell you that you should be doing it all the time. What we also tell you is that, hey, you should call for sell by owners, you should do open houses, you should buy leads, you should, and then we give you those same 10 to 15 responses. Well, then what ends up happening? So I tried that when I first got into the business. I tried to call for sell by owners. I tried to call expireds. I tried to do open houses. Like, I tried to do all those things. And guess what ended up happening to me? I ended up burning out. I ended up burning out and ended up saying to myself, like, this is terrible. Like, I hate everything about this. I hate calling for sell by owners because they're always mad. I hate calling expireds because they got their feelings hurt that their house didn't sell, probably because they overpriced it. I don't like circle prospecting because I keep getting the answer or the question, how'd you get my phone number? Right? Like, I tried all those things and it ended up burning me out because it wasn't things that I enjoyed doing. And so what Jason Abrams said is, what would happen to your life and how differently would your life look if lead generation were your favorite thing that you did? What if lead generation was what got you out of bed in the morning? What if we stopped having an obligation to lead generate, but it was just something that we did because we enjoy doing? So at this point, I'm on the edge of my seat going, yeah, I would love that. I would love for lead generation to be the thing that I love to do because I know that's what's going to make me the most money. So then we start to think through, what does that look like and what does that mean? So here's what he said to do. And I'll encourage you guys to do it. And I actually, when I talk to all of my new agents that come into my productivity coaching program, I ask them the same question. I said, listen, give me 3 things that you would be doing if you weren't doing real estate. And what I mean is like hobbies or jobs or something like that. Now there's caveats to this. It can't be something that you do alone. So don't think in your mind, well, Wesley, I love to like watch Netflix and chill. That's not going to work. What's something that you do that you're not alone? Something that you would enjoy doing every single week, right? And something that you actually would enjoy doing. So don't think about, well, I've always wanted to try this thing. No. Most everybody on the call, I don't know how old everybody is, but here's the reality. You're probably old enough to know what you like and what you don't like. So figure out what it is that you like to do. So because Chris is on this call, I'll pick on him for a second. I asked him this question and he said to me, I love to go to the gym. I'm like, okay, cool. We can work with that. He's going to go to the gym, right? 5 or 6 days a week, all the time, because that's what he enjoys doing. Go ahead. You want to say something?
No, I was just coming off on camera so that I could wave at you and say hi since you're talking about me again.
Hi. Yeah. So I asked him this question and I said, what do you enjoy doing? And he said, I go to the gym. And I'm like, okay, cool. That's great. What was the next question I asked you? You remember?
Might have been something along the lines of, do your gym buddies know that you're a realtor?
Right. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. And so the answer to his question was no, they don't. So what I said was, I need you to talk to 2 or 3 people every week when you go to the gym.
Actually, you made me talk to 6, but okay.
Well, whatever. Even worse. So what happened that first week?
I enjoyed it a lot. It gave me, intentionality about talking to people who I'd already built relationships with. And it was like the third week I was doing it, I picked up a buyer client and they ended up buying a house in Middleburg for 325,000.
Yeah. So find something that you enjoy doing and then figure out how to lead generate around that. So here's the story that he told. I'll try to keep it brief. He said he had gone down to Savannah, Georgia. So Jason Abrams was originally from Detroit. He was going to take a sabbatical from real estate because he was burned out. So they went down there, rented an Airbnb, and stayed down there. We're going to stay down there for 3 months. If you guys know anything about Jason Abrams, you know that the guy's a workaholic anyway. After about 24 hours of chilling on the beach, he said, I can't do this anymore. I have to do something. So he walks into the local KW office and says, hey, I don't have a license here in Georgia. I can't sell real estate, but I'd love to do something. And so he said, can I coach your people? Sure, you can coach them. That's fine. The first day he's doing coaching, in walks the number 2 producer in the entire city. And she says, I hate real estate and I don't want to do it anymore. And he goes, okay, tell me more about that. And she said, well, I've been buying leads. I've been running on the real estate hamster wheel and I realize I hate it and I'm just burned out and I don't want to do it anymore. And so he says, okay, well, can you just give me some time and let me coach you and we'll work through this? She said, sure. Okay. Well, the first question he asked her was this question. He said, I want you to make a list of 3 things that you love to do. And I think this lady at the time was in her early 50s. Give me a list of 3 things that you enjoy doing. Then I want you to go home and I want you to ask your immediate family what they think you would be doing if you didn't have to do real estate. So she says, okay, I'll meet you back here in a week. So 1 week later, they meet. They're going to meet at a Starbucks. He's already there sitting down. She walks in the door. They lock eyes and she immediately starts like ugly crying. And she sits down and he says, hey, are you okay? What's wrong? She goes, I just want you to know how much I hate you. He's thinking to himself, like, why? Like, why do you hate? Like, what did I do? She said, I did what you asked me to do. And I went home and I asked my family. So I asked my husband, hey, I've got a real estate coach. This is what he asked me to ask you. If I wasn't doing real estate, what do you think I would be good at? What do you think I would be doing? He said, oh, that's easy. You'd be a cheerleader. Now you and I are thinking, okay, she's got a couple of kids. She's always at their sporting events, always supporting them and those sorts of things. No, that's not what he meant. What he meant was, hey, when you were in high school, you were a cheerleader. That is something that you love to do. Well, then she goes and asks her 2 kids, what do you think I'd be doing if I weren't doing real estate? And she said, her kids answered, oh, that's easy, Mom. You'd be a chef because you're always in the kitchen cooking. And so she looks at them and she goes, what if I told you that the only reason I'm in the kitchen all the time cooking is to keep you idiots alive? Literally what she said. So the reason she's crying is because her family doesn't even know who she is apart from her real estate career. She says, okay, what are your 3 things? She said, I love to play tennis. I love to go shopping and I love to go boating. He said, okay, we can work with that. I want you to take your entire database of people and I want you to tell them that you're starting a tennis club at whatever tennis club that you play at, that you're starting like a little league on Thursday mornings at 9 a.m. He said, I want you to invite everybody that you know and tell them that you'll bring the balls, the snacks, the waters, everything. You just want them to show up and play tennis because you love to do it so much. She said, okay. She goes, she makes all these phone calls. At the time that he taught this class, that lady was playing tennis twice a week and the club was completely full, just of ladies that just wanted to come and play tennis. He said, I want you to communicate with them before and after with your work email, thanking them for coming, inviting them to come. I want you to go to Amazon and buy a bunch of water bottle stickers with your logo on them and rebrand a bunch of water bottles and brand everything that you can with your real estate logo. But when you're playing tennis, do not talk about real estate at all. I just want you to play tennis because that's what you love to do. He said after about 60 days, she had more business than she ever had, stopped buying leads, and was happier than she'd ever been. All because she's just lead generating around something that she already enjoys doing. Now, the second part of the story, he said, oh, you love to shop. Let's do this. Why don't you go online and buy a bunch of branded shopping bags? Go to the mall, go to the coffee shop in the mall, and bring a bunch of branded coffee sleeves. And tell the coffee shop at the mall you're going to bring in, I don't know, 100 ladies on Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. to drink coffee and hang out. And if they could just give them those coffee sleeves and they come in, no problem. So what they do is they all sit around, they drink coffee, they talk about what they're going to go buy. They each get a shopping bag. They go shop for an hour and come back and show everybody else what they got. That's it. She doesn't talk about real estate. She just hangs out and goes shopping. The moral of the story is this: if you can become the best part of someone's week, you'll never have to buy leads, ever. So find something that you already enjoy doing. It could be going to the gym. It could be joining a pickleball league. It could look a variety of different ways. Start a movie club. Start a dinner club. Like, find something that you already enjoy doing and find a way to lead generate around that. Because again, if you can become the best part of someone's week, meaning these people come to an event that you've curated, they did nothing, they just showed up, you made it as easy as possible for them to do it, they're going to love you for it. And then you just get to know them and just treat them like people, like you would anybody else. You know, I've had clients that coach crew, right? So rowing out on Lake Erie, they lead generated around that. You know, volleyball leagues, like there's so many things that you could do. And so I guess what I'm trying to do is challenge your thinking around lead generation to say, you don't have to call for sell-by owners if you don't want to. You don't have to call expired. You don't have to do open house. Like, you don't have to do any of those normal traditional methods of lead generation. If you would just stop for a second and think outside the box and align your lead generation with something that you're already doing. Maybe it's a hiking club, right? Like, I don't know what it is, but each and every one of us have different gifts and abilities and interests and likes. Just try to align yourself with that. Right? You could start a private Facebook group for what it's like to live on Cleveland's east side. You know, there's all these Facebook groups out there for all this kind of stuff. Make a private group, post in their events, post in there what it's like to live on Cleveland's east side, west side, south side, whatever. And when you create the group, go in and create questions in that group and make one of the questions, are you a real estate agent? Because you don't want them fishing in your private pond. And then just do whatever you can to grow the group. Like, there's 100,000 different ways to think through this. And if you need some help, send me an email afterwards and I can help you brainstorm through like what it might look like for you to lead generate around something that you already like to do. So that's kind of the meat of what I wanted to talk about today, was this idea of lead generation around what you enjoy doing. And the reason that I wanted to start with what I started with the 80-20 principle was because I think so many of us get it wrong. Because lead generation, it has typically not been fun. And so when it's not fun, what do we do as humans? We run away from things that are painful, even though we know that they'll get us to where we want to go. And so the question that I'll leave you guys with is, what if lead generation could become the most fun and favorite part of your day? How much differently would your day look? And then how much differently would your business look as a result of that? And my guess is it'd look way different and way better and would get you to where you're going faster than it would if you just did the really yucky work that nobody wants to do. So don't think so much about living in your 80% of your actions, because that's where we get bogged down. Your 20% should involve every single day doing a lead generation of some sort, so that you've always got a full pipeline. Does this all make sense to everyone? I can only see a couple of you, but yeah, so think through that. You've got a couple of days, you've got today, you've got tomorrow, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. Nobody's really going to be doing a whole lot, but just take some time, take a half hour, take an hour, write some of this stuff down and go, okay, what method am I using right now in my lead generation that's being effective? What message am I using? Should I change my message to look a little bit differently so that it matches the why of the people that I'm trying to contact? And then think through what are things that I really do enjoy doing? And then is there a way, assuming that I can do that with strangers or people that I don't know, how can I invite them into something that I already enjoy doing, so that when real estate comes up, I'm the person of choice, because whenever we hang out, we always have a lot of fun. Again, if you can become the best part of someone's week, you'll never have to buy leads again. So yeah, so that's about all I got today. I wanted to share that with you because I thought it was super important. Kelly, you got anything you want to?
Thank you, Wesley. I tried to like take notes as you were speaking so that
Oh, no.
everybody could reference the questions that they should go over with themselves on what the methods they use, what their message is. Yeah, this I think was very helpful. I mean, for myself, I was already trying to brainstorm as to like, how do I reach my sphere of influence? Like, what things do I like doing? And I'm like, oh, walking my dog. So
Yeah.
meeting people at the dog park, for example.
Yep.
Yeah.
That'd be a great way to lead generate, is just
Yeah.
talk to people at the dog park. Now, again, we talked about it earlier about scripting, like come up with a good script to get someone's contact info. And I can help you guys with that too, but make sure that you've got some sort of script in your brain, because you don't want to just go out and talk to a bunch of people and maybe hand out a business card. You want to get their information to put them in your ecosystem, because again, we've got the whole 36 touch plan that we should be running all year. You want to make sure that you've got their information so that you can dump them into that plan. Then they're at least hearing from you and seeing you. And so you're kind of getting a 2-for-1 there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks so much, Wesley.
Yeah,
Feel
for
free
sure.
if anybody has any questions. Feel free to ask in the chat or say out loud. Or I did put Wesley's information in the chat, so you have his cell and email. All right. Well, thanks for joining everyone, and have a very happy new year.